We are now on page 115. Naturally, that's Kuf Tet Vav of Zevachim, Masechet Zevachim, a bit absolutely amazing and coming only a few days away to the grand siyum of this Masechet that's taken place over 4 months approximately. So very, very interesting. And it's an action-packed day with full of Talmud and interesting insights inside the Gemara, respectively, and very, very much as we culminate. One interesting insight we see from Rav Mendel Weinbach, Zechet Tzadik Lebracha, is a pasuk from Kohelet, the book of Kohelet, which many people will read during the Jewish festival of Sukkot. It's in chapter 3, verse number 4. It says, a time to speak and a time to be silent. That's what the phrase says over here, which can encapsulate, let's just say, many meanings and many famous meanings in of itself. But really, that's a lesson you could say for life. You know, you've got to be able to say things at the right time. And more importantly, sometimes it's better to be silent at specific points in time. Now, the great rabbis, they actually explain, let's say, this very profound observation of Shlomo HaMelech, of King Solomon, as a reference to the schar, the reward one can sometimes receive for speaking. Obviously, many times, if God forbid, someone is mourning, sometimes a gentle word, someone wants to compliment someone else, someone wants even to criticize someone else constructively and in the correct manner. But also, sometimes for remaining silent, some cases you just need to be there to sit with someone if someone's going through pain and just be there, even not saying a word. Just the person being there itself could be priceless. If someone could, God forbid, do something very, very bad and he needs to be monitored, that also is a case where just being silent, just being there, could be imperative. Or just sitting and being silent and listening to someone else when someone is in a crisis is also very powerful, and many examples both ways. Now, the silence which earned a reward over here from the Torah was that of Aaron, who silently accepted, unfortunately, the tragic death of his 2 sons. When Moshe, he comforted his brother that the sudden death of his son served as, let's say, a sanctification of God's name, Aharon responded with silent, let's say, acquiescence in of it. He was silent at that point in time, and the verse actually describes that very much so. Now, the Midrash cited by Rashi, the commentator, cites that his reward was that the very next command given by God was only given to Aaron, as we see in chapter 10, verse number 8, in the book of Vayikra, I believe in Parshat Shmini, if I'm not mistaken. And it wasn't given to Moshe. While the time to remain silent is, let's say, explicitly mentioned in our Gemara, we will turn to the great commentator, once again, Rashi, in the book of Kohelet, for an explanation of when there is obviously going to be a time to speak. There's examples, I think, listed very much so. For example, we see the song of Moshe and the children of Israel, Bnei Yisrael, at the splitting of the sea, the Kriyat Yamsuf, as we learn about very much in Parashat B'Shalach, in the book of Shemot, which we happen to be now. That obviously we see another example, the song of the great prophetess Deborah, after the victory over the Canaanites, as we learn very much in the book, I believe, of Judges, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Shoftim. And let's say the point of the call of the prophet Hosea to return to God and take words with you. In those cases, that will illustrate that the reward for such speech is self-evident and obviously needs no elaboration. So, very, very beautiful insight from Rav Mendel Weinbach, the excellent notes of the ohr.edu. But we also see from Rav Adin Steinsaltz also another brilliant insight in today's pages of Gemara. The whole topic in these pages talk about who was to perform the sacrificial service, the firstborn or the Kohanim. We're in the, let's say, the topic of Kohanim, priests, and firstborn Bechor itself, respectively. Who would perform the sacrificial service? And we build this from a Mishnah in Kuf Yud Bet on page 112, Amud Bet, respectively, in the Mishnah. And according to it, until the tabernacle was established in the Midbar, sacrifices were brought on something called Bamot. What's a Bamot? Private altar. And the sacrificial service was performed naturally by the Bechorim, the firstborn. Now, after the tabernacle was erected, sacrifices, korbanot, could only be brought there, and the sacrificial services were performed by the priests, by the Kohanim. That was descendants of Aaron HaKohen. According to the Mishnah, The commandment to sanctify the firstborn was given at the time of the Exodus from Egypt, the Yetziat Mitzrayim. Actually, we see that in chapter 13, verse 2 in Shemot. And the firstborn redeemed themselves from the Bet HaMikdash service later on, as obviously described in the book of Bamidbar, in Parashat Bamidbar, naturally, in chapter number 3, verse 12. According to the great Talmud Yerushalmi, the reason for this was the participation of the firstborn in sacrificing to the golden calf, something that the members of the tribe of Levi did not do, as we very much see. Now we see in page 115 in the Gemara, obviously today's page, they're going to quote a Braita that offers an alternative approach to this question. According to Rabbi Asi, the firstborn sacrificed for just one day in conjunction with the experience of Mount Sinai, Har Sinai. Thus the young men who would bring the korbanot at that time did so just for that day. Now I think in the third month following the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus, from that, let's say, time until the tabernacle was built, in the first month of the second year from the Exodus, naturally, I think that would be in Nisan. Aaron's sons, as we learned about just beforehand, illustrating the point of when silence is important, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, were served as priests. Obviously, naturally, we see they pass away at the end. During the consecration ceremony of the tabernacle, we see that Nadab and Abihu, they died under tragic circumstances. Many reasons are given in the Talmud, and also very much spoken about in Vayikra in chapter 10. And from that point on, it was the rest of Aaron's sons and their descendants who were responsible for the sacrificial service in the Bet HaMikdash. We know, obviously, he'll have Elazar and Itamar will be his two children. Rashi is going to have an alternative reading that seems to indicate that the young men in Sefer Shemot, as we learn about in chapter 24, verse 5, did not actually bring the korbanot, but represented the people as onlookers to the sacrificial service that was performed. Now, according to this reading, there is a possibility that the firstborn never served a role in bringing the korbanot, the sacrifices over here. And that's a question very much encapsulated here in today's page inside the Gemara, which is, you could say, a very, very flabbergasting onto itself, something that really encapsulates, the page of the Gemara as we're learning every single day, a tidbit inside the daily page of Daf Yomi. So we're talking all about the topic of Aaron and his sons and what actually occurred during that time period inside wilderness. So very, very interesting. I just want to say something about just to chazar about yesterday's page of the Gemara. We know very much that we learned in yesterday's page about the sacrifice in land of Eretz Yisrael in itself. Just wanted to go through that again. We didn't really, we did a very short clip yesterday. I was in Bet Shemesh. We talked yesterday about sacrifices in the land of Israel. That obligatory sacrifices, which was described in the book of Vayikra, were brought in tabernacle in the Midbar, but their ultimate destiny was to be brought in the Bet HaMikdash, in the temple in Israel. The question was, what was their status when the children of Israel first entered the land of Israel? We, once again, building on this mission that we just spoke on a few minutes ago on page 112, a person will not be held liable for bringing sacrifices outside the precincts in the Bet HaMikdash, of the Bet HaMikdash, if they are brought before or after the appropriate time. For example, Torim, turtle doves, that had not yet reached adulthood, or B'nai Yonah. What's that? So that happens to be pigeons that have obviously become adults. We learned this very much in page Masechet, in page 68. Rabbi Shimon is going to disagree on this and rule that someone who brings a sacrifice whose time to be brought has yet to have occurred will be subject of lashes, or also known as malkut, for this aveira. Now it's interesting, the Gemara on today's page, let's say we'll search for a source for Rabbi Shimon's position, and Rabbi Elel is going to quote Reish Lakish as learning it from a passage we naturally see in the book of Devarim in chapter 12 verses 8 and 9. According to this verse, the Torah forbids the people from bringing korbanot the way they were brought inside the Midbar, inside desert. Rabbi Shimon's interpretation of the command is that upon entering the land of Israel, the Jewish people could no longer continue bringing communal sacrifices as they had done in the Midbar. Only personal sacrifices, let's say consisting of nedarim and nedavot, voluntary sacrifices, could be brought inside the tabernacle when it was first erected in Israel. Obviously, naturally, in the place was called Gilgal. The reading of the verse was understood to mean that this situation was to remain in force until the time that the people arrived at the Menucha, the resting place, in Shiloh. And the Nachala, the inheritance, i.e. in Jerusalem, only then could, let's say, the obligatory sacrifices be brought as they were brought inside the tabernacle, inside the desert. And we very much learned about in yesterday's page that it was based on this, let's say, that Rabbi Shimon reasoned that since it was Asur, it was forbidden to bring sacrifices in Gilgal prior to the establishment of the Mishkan in Shiloh, we learned the principle that Mehusar Zeman, what is that? A sacrifice whose time has not yet arrived cannot be brought outside the tabernacle. Obviously, similarly, we could say there is a prohibition in effect against bringing korbanot outside the Bet HaMikdash when they could be brought at a later date. So many different rules encapsulated over here. We very much see inside the Talmud in today's page, and very, very interesting. It's been like a dictionary of let's just say, the Zevachim and Korbanot that we've actually encapsulated over the previous months over here. It's been very, very exciting. We like to record the videos in a different location every single day, where we record here in the Bagel restaurant. Yesterday we happened to be in the city of Bet Shemesh, and we've been in Yerushalayim and various different places also. We like to go around and record these videos. So I've been recording these now for a staggering 3.5 years plus at the moment. We've probably recorded more than 1,100 tidbit clips already on the daily page of Talmud, which is absolutely phenomenal at the moment. And we couldn't have done this all without you fantastic people out there. Just giving you a snippet. Tomorrow we're going to see something beautiful about the Kriyat Yam Suf. That the question of what did Yitro hear that motivated him to join the Jewish people, and that was a splitting of the sea, which we very much learned about. And Yitro is very much part of the theme of Shemot, very much part of the theme of Har Sinai, and the giving of the Aseret Debrot, the Ten Commandments, very much named after them. That's something that we very much have to point out over here. Now, friends, we're a community here. We explore every single day a tidbit within regards to Daf Yomi. We also record biography videos of great Chachamim. That of yesteryear, we've already recorded nearly about 1,400 plus biography videos. Another exciting project we're working on at the moment is recording videos of the history of various countries across the world, and what was the dynamics within regards to all the different countries, all different Midinot. Who were the rabbis there? What were the synagogues there? What was community life like over there? That's something that we're grappling on at the moment. We also record videos on the weekly Torah portion and insights in regards to that. And another very exciting project, we record some videos on current events and various different other topics. So very, very exciting. We like to do these. Also, probably the most exciting thing that we're doing on this channel is that we have a very inspirational Jewish personality every single day. Could be a rabbi or someone else that's very, very standout, that will share over some words of inspiration for Am Yisrael every single day, and really, really, let's just say, boosting and bringing an injection to Jewish life and so on and so forth on every single occasion. So very, very exciting. I think on this note, wishing you all a Shavua Tov. We're still in the middle of the week. And please watch over all the previous videos that we've recorded. And also, friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join the community. And then you can be up with all the fantastic content that we're offering here in our beautiful community of the Daf Yomi. So I'm over here, Michael Zubavelli, and thanks for watching. And once again, usually on these live videos, a lot of people write comments. I don't usually are able to answer to all the questions or all the comments, but yeah, wishing you all well and have a great day. Thanks very much for watching. Thank you.